I don't think it's nice, you laughing. See, my mule don't like people laughing.
I saw the whole thing. You killed all four of them. You'll pay all right. You'll be strung up.
Who are you?
Don't fire a shot. I'm John Baxter, sheriff.
Get 3 coffins ready.
Huh?
I'm a very imaginative reader. I don't simply visualize a book within my mind. I toy around with camera angles, changing perspectives as I go through a scene, viewing them as if they were playing out on a theater screen, going so far at times to apply music. It's a cinematic experience and I get very emotionally invested in the entire affair. After hearing that, it probably won't shock you to learn that I used to want to be a film director. I was even accepted to Vancouver Film School in my late teens. But life being what it is, things went in another direction, and those days got left behind, merely existing as a remnant within my reading and creative experiences. It's that remnant, however, that made my time with Red Noise highly enjoyable. I'm a sucker for bloody pulp action, and this book delivers it in spades. It's a science fiction love letter to spaghetti westerns, and in turn, the samurai films of old. More specifically, it's Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars. Just replace Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name with Uma Thurman's The Bride from Kill Bill. Taking these comparisons further, add in a dash of the ever-amazing Dredd 3D. Not for narrative reasons or anything, but because that film contains B-level action and CGI, and the cheap sheen of its cinematography would perfectly convey the way in which I envisioned Red Noise for myself. That's a compliment, by the way. Dredd 3D is fantastic. Go watch it. It's severely underrated. But back to the topic at hand. What I'm trying to say is that reading through Red Noise was a cinematic convergence of 3 excellent films, and I had a ball of a time. The story follows a female ore miner who is often referred to as the Miner. She actually has a few nicknames throughout the course of the novel, with her true identity only being revealed towards the very end. No different than Beatrice Kiddo from the aforementioned Kill Bill. A comparison that can be taken further as the Miner is a pro with a sword. She will stab you, dice you up, stick you in a stew, and not feel a second of remorse. And the action scenes where she chops away at her foes is a bloody riot. Sometimes literally so. It is a bad idea to get in her way. But thankfully, for the excitement of the reader, a lot of people get in her way. To I'm sure the detriment of some potential readers, we never learn a whole lot about the miner's past. A lot of it is left up to interpretation. She's clearly trying to escape a past rather left behind, but little is ever fully specified. The most spoiler-free things I can confirm is that she used to be a Special Forces military expert, and it was during her time fighting war that she became enhanced with all types of bodily upgrades. She is one expensive human with expanded physical attributes, pain negators, and reflex boosters out the wazoo. It's probably a safe assumption that she isn't supposed to remain in possession of such tech, which may explain why she lives the nomadic space life that she does. As the start of the book makes clear, she lives in isolation aboard her tiny ore-collecting spaceship, tending to her beloved orchids and bonsai trees, while avoiding humans at all costs. A mining expedition has recently hit its end, and after journeying to a place to sell what she collected, she pulls into a deep space station called Station 35. It's built into an asteroid, and from the outside it appears run down and empty. Bad news is written all over it, and a voice over the radio even warns her to instead travel the much longer distance to Station 36. But with no food or fuel, she ignores the advice and asks for docking permission. Upon entering, it's immediately obvious that the entire station is in disrepair. It's grungy and dirty, and people fight, rob, and stab others for fun, with the few remaining common folk left to suffer the consequences of never-ending warfare. A once semi-thriving location is now, for lack of a better term, a pile of shit. It's sad and violent. Brutal violence at that. Guns are banned, so people punch, bludgeon, and stab others in gruesome fashion. Although guns do exist in secret, and naturally they play a part later on. The miner immediately knows something is off, and all she wants to do is quickly sell her ore so she can resupply her necessities before flying back to a lucrative asteroid field. But there wouldn't be a story if that went to plan, and after being ripped off by a shady customs agent and then ripped off again by an ore buyer, she becomes embroiled in a war between rivaling factions after she takes on mercenary jobs for extra cash. At first, it appears she just wants to earn as much money as she can as quickly as possible, and maybe get some extra revenge in the process for being ripped off by the corruption aboard the station. But after growing mildly attached to a handful of decent people, her goals seemingly shift as she begins her own war to take every gang leader down. There's essentially three main groups, with a fourth lurking deeper in the shadows. The main feud is that between Mr. Feeney and Angelica Del Rio. They utterly despise one another, and it's an irreparable blood feud. The former used to reside on top, but Angelica betrayed him and a coup led to a fracturing that resulted in a mess the station currently finds itself within. Feeney is now relegated to managing his large but unorganized group of misfits from a shitty hotel, as Angelica resides in a casino with a smaller but more well-armed posse. There's a small town feel reminiscent of old westerns, as each faction resides on opposite sides of a central octagon-shaped galleria. The book even offers a small map depicting the layout. It's basically a four-way Mexican standoff, with each group taking up its own corner. Angelica in one, Feeney in another, the miner in a bar in the third, and a corrupt security chief in the fourth. As if those character dynamics weren't already enough to intrigue you, there's a former power player hiding in the bowels of the station with a gang of lowly workers, and there's even a Shakespearean tragedy in play as Mr. Feeney's granddaughter is in love with Raj, the brother of Angelica. Naturally, all of this leads to a lot of bloodshed and chaos. It really should be obvious that Red Noise isn't particularly deep. It's not a science fiction classic. You're not going to compare it to Dune or 2001: A Space Odyssey. Similarly, you wouldn't compare Dread 3D to Citizen Kane. It's not that type of media, which, where science fiction is concerned, can sometimes push people to write it off, as this genre typically strives to provide thoughtful commentary on humanity, social issues, and progress, and anything that does otherwise is viewed as lesser. But you know what? Sometimes it's just fun to enjoy a pulpy piece of media, and this book is pulpy to its core. It's chunky orange juice for the brain, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's just a schlocky tone throughout, and this is most evident by a character named Nuke. He's related to Mr. Feeney, and his name is the result of a literal nuke he had implanted into his chest, wired to his heart in such a way that should he die, the bomb will go off. It's the ultimate dead man's switch, but for risk of spoilers, I can't say much more. But let's just say it's Chekhov's nuke. that's the type of story you're in for here. It's just a violent, chaotic time, and I had a blast. There's even a scene with a minigun, and it's a gore fest. It helps that the book is just over 400 pages, and it breezes right by. It's a simple but glorious time, full of cool kills, fun set pieces, and good action. And maybe it's just me, but I'd struggle to turn down a book if someone compared it to A Fistful of Dollars, Kill Bill, and Dread 3D. So maybe take my advice and give it a read. I think you'll have a fun time. Thanks for watching.
State of mind to set on fear that ends uncertain.